All right. Welcome, social friends, to tonight's episode of Real Living in Bolingbrook. My co-host and I are ready to share with you our banter of what I call our short to long list of common questions that we sometimes get in the business of real estate. So with all of that said, let me get my co-host into the room. But before I do, since it's been a while since I've seen him, and for you as well, let's give him a rock star welcome. Here we go. Hey, Greg, your fans are calling you. Here we go.
Hey, Bill, how you doing? How are you? Good to see you.
Good seeing you. So,
Yes.
you and I've got a wet Wednesday evening here in Chicagoland.
Yes, and it's a very much welcome rain.
Yeah.
Not only for our landscaping, we planted out a bunch of seed for grass and stuff like that, and it's been growing, but it can definitely need a little bit more rain. But also to fill up the river so that I can go kayaking again. So that's a good one.
So true, so true. So social friends, if you have shared your time with us, popping in, listening to as many of our episodes, past episodes of Real Living in Bolingbrook, you might remember that one of Greg's hobbies, when he's not busy repping sellers and working with buyers, is he loves to kayak. So this water will help, huh?
I like to kayak in rivers where I don't have to do much, but just kind of steer the boat. But this episode or this podcast is all about Bolingbrook, and I've done a lot of kayaking around the area. And a great spot is right by the trout farm. Okay. And right by the trout farm, the stream there, it's the east branch of the DuPage River. And it's real narrow. It's real narrow. And there's actually a big waterfall that comes in from Whalen Lake. So it's really cool. But it's a real narrow river, and it's pretty shallow, but it moves pretty good. And I take that usually down to 111 or 127 or 135 for a really long travel. But usually it's about a 4-hour journey, but it's a lot of fun.
All right. So here is a request. I'm going to drop in here. I'm going to make it public. So social friends certainly chime in and say, yeah, I'm with you, Bill. Let's get Greg to do this. So Greg, the next time you are going to go out with your kayak, grab your cell phone, your smartphone, shoot a quick video so that we can use it as your B-roll. How's that?
Yeah, that sounds good. So the next podcast, we can show it at the beginning of me going down, and I'll show you some of the cool spots. Yeah, it's awesome.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So we'll use that as a lead-in.
Yeah.
Before you pop into the virtual studio.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So let's lead off with what you and I always do, and that is sharing with our audience, social friends who may be selling real estate, who may be buying real estate, who may be scratching their head with, OMG, I missed the boat. I missed the boat selling, or I missed the boat buying, right? So what's going on in the Bolingbrook area as far as real estate is concerned?
Sure. So I was taking a look at some of the recent stats of what's going on. But before I do, I just wanted to say real quick, most people know of the Promenade in Bolingbrook as the outdoor shopping center.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool, Bass Pro Shop, Macy's is in there. They just got done with what they call the Promenade 2.0, which is a bunch of renovation that they've done inside there to make it more family friendly. They have a whole kids play area, and they, starting in June, they do a bunch of concerts. So if you like concerts, like they have a Styx tribute band, Carlos Santana tribute band.
Oh yeah.
It opens on Thursday. I recommend that they go to the, just look it up, Promenade 2.0, and you can find all that information in there about the concerts coming up. But they have some great restaurants too. So I plan to do that as well.
All right. Well, I'll look at this. I'll look at the schedule.
Yeah.
And maybe we can coordinate and show up at one of these Thursday events. Yep. And maybe as part of you and I doing that, we'll grab our smartphones and shoot a short video, create another B-roll.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so taking a look at the stats, the couple of things that I wanted to point out to you. The month's supply of homes for sale in Bolingbrook moved from 1.1 month, and that is how long it takes to go through the inventory, to 1.5 months. So the supply is coming on a little bit stronger.
Wow.
In April, we had 67 homes for sale, and in May, it ticked up to 88 homes per sale.
Wow.
So that's a good thing because we've been real low on inventory.
Yeah.
The price per square foot is also, though, still ticking up a little bit. Yeah, we don't have enough inventory. I would imagine, for example, if we went from 88 homes to 150 homes on the market, then I think things will really start to stabilize and maybe come down. And that's really what I think needs to happen, is the inventory, or the price per square foot needs to come down and inventory needs to go up in order to make it more of a balanced market. We're still in a seller's market for sure in Bolingbrook and Chicagoland area. So unlike some states, median sale price on this one statistic actually has the median sale price had gone down a little bit in May, but not much far from April. So, but yeah, more inventory is what we need.
Yeah.
And I think if lower interest rates happen, they had a meeting today. I don't know exactly what happened. You, I'm sure, know, but if they can get the interest rates down a little bit, I think more sellers would be incentivized to, hey, now's maybe the time to upsize or downsize. Let's sell and let's move and buy because the interest rates are good. But they're still pretty high.
The announcement today from Chairman Powell is no change for at least right now.
Yeah.
They're being very hawkish with that. But the talk is that as we move into the second half of this calendar year, toward the end of the second half of the calendar year, they do expect to initiate some rate cuts.
Okay.
More of the same right now. But the way I look at it is back to what you said, more inventory will help to shift us to, that balanced market. And at the end of the day, while we all can benefit from lower interest rates, nothing really makes a big impact in terms of affordability until those dollars, right? A few less dollars motivate, buyers to get off the fence and say, you know what, the time is now.
Yeah.
Let's not wait, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. So what I thought we also do tonight, Greg, as part of our live stream is to have fun with each other. And actually, all of you who are, tuning into tonight's live stream, or perhaps you're getting this on demand as a recording, you can still engage us, interact with us. How can you do that? Well, it's really as simple as drop in a social post, cheer us on. We love to, get your positive feedback to reinforce that what we're doing is adding value to you. Engage us with your social posts to tell us something you want to know. Mm-hmm. And so that will motivate Greg and myself to make sure we can include that in some of our upcoming episodes. And by the way, as Greg mentioned, if you happen to show up at the Promenade 2 on one of those Thursday events, well, let us know which one. We'll look for you. Yeah. We'll look for you and add you to the video that we will use as our B-rolls.
Yeah, I would like to go to the Styx one. The Styx one is on July 10th.
Okay, yeah, Styx is cool. Styx and Santana is cool, right? That's
in August.
Yeah, that's some classic rock and roll stuff. So Greg, here's what I thought we have fun with.
Okay.
And when I say fun, let's be real. We can do this partly serious. We can be sarcastic about it, or we can just make fun of these questions that I know you and I get too often. So let's start off with, Greg, those questions that we get from sellers. What are some of the top 2 to 3 questions you get from sellers? And maybe there's a part of you where you're thinking in your head like, oh no, that question again?
No, I don't get too many crazy questions from sellers.
Okay.
But I do get, a lot of the same questions. Sellers always want to know, the question that they have is, how much is my house worth? Yeah. How long is it going to take? And what should I do to get my house ready for the market?
Okay.
And those are all pretty basic questions. Obviously the one of what's my house worth is a very important one, and every seller has that. And so I always come in with comparables and all the data to show where I'd probably price out your home. But I do get a lot of sellers that will say something in the range of, why don't we try to price it out, even though you're saying it's worth this? Why don't we try going here?
Higher. Yeah.
So there's still a lot of sellers that think that way.
Yeah.
And believe that we can just kind of put it up high and see what happens. We can always lower it. And that is, one of the questions that I answer the most.
Do you?
And yeah, it is. And the thing about that is, first off, I'm not going to not get the listing because you want to price your house out here. Even though I say it's here, I'm not going to lose the listing because I won't price it for here. It's your house and your asset, and we'll always price it out where you want it. But what happens is, I say if it doesn't sell within this time frame, we need to lower the price, and we need to put that plan of action ahead of time. So I'm not calling you. I'm just doing it 2 weeks from now.
That's right.
So I have them sign something. Then they think, well, okay, if it doesn't sell in 2 or 3 weeks, let's lower it to your price. No. That's too late. That price is now gone.
That's right.
Your house has become more stale on the market. So forget about what I told you. Now we need to go here.
Yeah.
So you lost your chance.
Yeah.
So talking to people about that and convincing them that the smarter thing to do would be to price it in the range that the house is actually worth. Looking at the comparables, you're going to get a better price.
Yeah.
So I know you were looking for a funny question, but that one's probably not funny. That's a serious.
That is a serious question, but I'll add a funny component to it, right?
Okay, good.
So this is a social media friends and audience members. This is my sarcastically funny answer to that same question, right? And here goes. Did you know what your home is worth is what the heck someone is willing to pay for it?
Yeah, no, and to go on that, when I ask people, who determines the purchase price of your home, and
Right.
then a lot of times they'll say me, the seller. No, it's the buyer.
No.
The buyer
Yes,
is the one that determines the sale price.
that's right. So I add that component to it. Do you get this question? Let me throw it at you. Greg, do I really need to do an open house for you to sell my home? How would you answer that one?
No, you don't need to do an open house to sell your home. You don't need to advertise your house to sell your home. You don't need to do pretty much anything. You don't need to put a sign in the yard. You don't need to do anything. All that we try to do when we market your home is to get the most amount of exposure on the market. And so the open house allows us to do that. You also have some people that don't want to work with an agent, or maybe they're not ready yet, or they think that they're not ready yet, so they don't want to work with an agent. So doing open houses lets people be able to just come in and take a look at it. And that might prompt them to say, hey, we really like this. How do we move forward?
Yeah.
So, you don't need to do all those things. It's just more exposure. I don't need to pay $500 or $1,000 to market your home on paid for platforms.
Right.
But it's just more exposure. I could get 100,000 more impressions by doing so.
Okay. All right. Let me throw another question at you, and I'm trying to step into the shoes of, I think, a typical seller. What day of the week, once I commit to you to sell my home, what day of the week should we make my home publicly active and available? Is there any magic to that?
There is magic to that. And but you said publicly active and available. Those are two different things.
Yes.
So active would be earlier in the week on the MLS, so that it can be circulated amongst 900 different websites attached to the MLS that pushes it out.
Right.
So that people start getting those new listings on the next day, Wednesday and Thursday and Friday.
Got it.
I like to make the homes, a lot of times we'll do some work to the homes, the following days because we're rushing to get it on. Make it available a few days later for people to come in and view. So kind of build up that momentum, have them come in a few days later, maybe during an open house, and try and get as many people in there over that weekend.
Yeah.
And that's great for a few things. Open houses, I like to do 2 hours instead of 3 or 4. And the reason being for that is, again, brings people in there. So all at the same time, people see 15 people walking through. They know it's a hot house.
Yeah.
You better put an offer in today in order to get it. So my whole goal is to get multiple offers.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at doing that. And by making it active early in the week, advertising it, and then open up for the public on the weekend, getting as many people in there at a time, create the urgency. That's what works.
All right. Those are some great common questions that I know you get from sellers and that I hear from sellers as well. Let's now shift the focus. Let's shift our conversation to those common questions that we get from buyers. What do you think is a common one?
Okay, so this one is more of a smart aleck type of a question, but I get it a lot, and it's just like, wow, So one question that I get a lot from buyers is when we go through a home, they'll ask me, why are they selling? And I usually respond, because they're moving. I don't know. It's like there's literally, I don't know, a couple hundred homes on the market around here. I have no idea why this person is selling and why the next house is selling and why the next house is selling.
True.
sometimes I can take a good stab at it when I see the yellow shag carpeting throughout the home and the old lazy boy that's about 30 years old. You know, I can guess maybe this guy's going into a retirement house, you know, or something like that.
Right.
But for the most part, as far as the idea of why are these people selling, who knows?
Yeah.
You
Who
know?
knows? Yeah.
And seriously, it's like, well, what does it matter anyway?
That's
You
right.
know?
Yeah.
They could be selling to downsize, upsize.
Yeah.
What's the difference? So I think what happens is when they say, do you know why they're selling? I think people, the buyers are just trying to, I don't know.
Trying to get a sense of the motivation, right?
Yeah, buy some time, you know,
Oh,
try to get a feel as to what's going on. But
yeah.
any way you slice it, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. I'll add my sarcastic answer to that one, which is, well, they're selling me because you're ready to buy today. So let's write that offer. So let me drop a common question I get from buyers. And Greg, you know this one. You probably will nod your head and like, oh my OMG, Bill. And by the way, this only applies to those buyers who are financing their purchase, not the ones that are doing cash. Okay. So the question that I get, and you probably hear it as well, is, hey, what are the interest rates? And my answer to that is, well, if I am to tell you interest rates are 2%, will that motivate you to write an offer? Right? Or here's my equally sarcastic answer. Hey, if I'm going to answer that question with interest rates are 2%, but you're not going to qualify, right? So it's a question that I myself and many of my peers who are mortgage professionals, we get that question way too often. And the serious answer to that question is there's other factors that feed into what is the right answer for you, buyer. And rather than get into the weeds of that right now, we'll save that for maybe another episode. Or here's my call to action. All of you who are watching this, listening to this as recording, you really, really want to get a serious answer, drop in a social post and say, I need that answer, Bill, and I'll respond to you. How's that? All right, let's talk about another question that I get. I want to see if you agree and if this resonates with you. A question I get from buyers would be very common. How much money do I need to bring to closing?
Yep.
Right? Very common question. And there's an answer to that. Usually it is this. This is my simple layman's answer to it. The amount of money that you will need to bring to closing will be less, usually, than what is disclosed to you in what is called the loan estimate. And I will couch it with this serious fact. That's assuming your chosen mortgage professional has done their job accurately and not taken their eye off the ball. So there you have it, buyers.
Yeah. I always think of that. So it really depends, you know, when people ask how much money am I going to need to bring into closing,
Right.
I can usually figure it out, you know, on paper pretty close. But it's usually, you know, if a buyer is putting down 5 or maybe 10%,
sure.
Usually what I find is that it's a couple grand more than just the 10%.
Bingo.
So even though you have these fees, you know, your title, your attorney, your escrows, all that stuff, it gets eaten up usually by the prorated tax credit that gobbles that away. But it usually ends up where if you're putting down 5%, it's the 5% plus like a grand or two, and they're usually going to be fine. You know.
Yeah. Unless buyers, unless you are lucky enough working with someone like Greg and myself, where we negotiated the hell of a deal for you with credits and blah, 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 where maybe the amount of money that you bring, if you're a veteran, benefiting with 100% financing, maybe the amount of money you bring is almost just like a security deposit renting a place. How do you like that one?
Yeah, I even had it where the VA guy was getting money. He was doing a 0% type of loan. He was getting money, but they couldn't let him get money, so they did a principal reduction on his mortgage. So instead of him buying it at $100,000, it was they chopped it down to 98.
Yeah,
and he benefited that way. No money to closing.
Exactly. So that is a common question that always surfaces from buyers. And buyers, we just answered it 2 parts, right? Kind of serious, kind of sarcastically humorous. It's somewhere in between. Always is the case. So, audience members, if as part of our banter tonight, we have not maybe answered a specific question that matters to you, all you have to do, real simple, is scan the QR codes that you see here. Greg and I will gladly engage you in a personal consultation so that we can make sure we answer your specific set of questions, whether you are selling and or buying. So with all of that said, Greg, thank you for joining me on this wet Wednesday evening in this episode of Real Living in Bolingbrook. Music Posse, play us out. Here we go.